You're live.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing, testing.
Just speaking to him. You don't need those on right now. You're live right now.
Alrighty. I heard you first time. Ask the echo, let me get lined up, people. Assalamu alaikum.
GPS signal lost.
All right, we're going to give it to Allah first and foremost. In the most holy name of Almighty God, Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who was to come and has come to restore we who are lost from our own kingdom of Islam and destroy those that destroyed us. God, our God, all our, we are thy people. Deliver us from our murders, we serve and obey thee all the days of our lives. And we teach our children to submit to thee, to that unequaled love and mercy for thou. And thanks to you, Allah, for making manifest to us our enemy, the devil, and help us, O Allah, to live a life and die the death of a Muslim. I bear witness there's no God but thee, and I bear witness the most honorable and humble Elijah Muhammad is your last and greatest messenger. Thank you, Allah, for this day. Thank you for this gift of life. May you remove the heart of the devil from thee and the black nation and replace it with one like their own. Assalamu alaikum. I pray all's well, which I know is not. We still got an open enemy in our midst. But it's time for him to go. But it's time for us to step up now. We have to evolve back into which we were created. Black people. A circuit I had Monday night was on the woman, used mathematics. But I want to jump around tonight, but part 2 comes next Monday, sisters, on the woman. But we want to get back to the square. He was put in this situation to be tested. When Yaqub made these people, it was a test to be allowed because we lived amongst the righteous. We didn't know what it was to even tell a lie, to murder, to maim, to practice jealousy and envy. We didn't even have prisons. Our word was bond. And we knew who our woman was. We know she was the wife of the Creator. You know, we were the father and the producer of gods. And Yaqub was allowed to bring another being out of us onto the planet. For 400 years, we've been under this condition. And you see the results. We have our children today. It was talking about, because that's not what we are, turn from into gods, taken from being gangsters into gods. And I looked at the replies, but no one had the answer at all. So I said, well, let me make that part of my subject tonight. And I want to bring someone on who has experienced all of these realms as a child. He's my really my son, but he's related. I'm his uncle, and he's experienced a whole spectrum because most of our children are raised by a single parent in most cases, by their mothers. They taught how to survive. They tell them about all the dangers that they will face. But the one thing they can't teach them when they come into their manhood, how to protect themselves from all the things that she may fear, because when they grow up and get a certain age, they get that bass in their voice. They tone change. They start to talk back a little bit, as the mother would say, because they can't control them no more with fear, all the loud talking and all the threatening. And when they start moving about in life, they start seeing things that they don't know how to deal with. They don't know how to protect themselves. They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to speak. They don't know how to deal with the thoughts that they carry within themselves. From a boy going into manhood, and there's no one around to guide them, to teach them what they're feeling, teach them how to think through issues, think of how to have critical thinking, teach them about their sexuality, how to respond to the environment, how to work, how to learn, how to take on responsibilities, how to clean themselves, how to look out for their brothers and sisters if they have them. And you have to teach your children not to let the streets take over. You got to get your children up out of the television, off the internet, social media. You have to learn how to take control of your household. You have to put models in front of them, because as a single parent, that means you have to take on all the burdens of doing all these things yourself, pretty much. You have to teach them how to be honest. You have to teach them loyalty. You know, I look at families today, their children just, they don't even know how to. When we used to come home from school, we had to take our clothes off and hang them up. You have to teach your children how to, especially young boys, how to make the bed up early, even though they might not get it right. They put it here and there, but that's good. You're starting them off on the right track. You have to tell them about this world that they're going to grow up in. You got to teach them how to pray. You got to teach them about the open enemy. There's so much we have to teach our children that missing. And this stage that I'm talking about is really is the stage that most of that responsibility is on the woman. And because fathers teach their children, their boys in particular, and their girls, how to overcome obstacles. I was at Muhammad's Academy, and I seen children were playing a game, and I seen the little boy, he started crying and stuff, and he come back over, ran back to his mother, and she immediately went to him, and she grabbed him, pulled him to his stomach and stuff, and instead of telling him, because there's nothing really happened, instead of telling him, all right, give him a little hug, I'll go back out there. Now, father would have handled it a little different. He said, all right, son, you're all right, man, go back out there. But she took him and walked him away and stuff like that. But she's not giving him what they're gonna really need further in life. Because a lot of times, when you find little boys at an early age, they more sensitive and they will cry. They don't do a lot of fighting and none of that stuff, and sometimes that's okay. Let them go through that stage, but then you slowly have to bring them out that stage. Let them express themselves. Let them have that crying period because boys do that. Girls are a little bit more. Girls are more aggressive at that age. To be honest about it, they'll bust you up in a minute. They whoop their brothers. Then they'll settle down and go into the more girly role and start playing the girly games and stuff like that. But I really want to focus on a little young men that we openly talk about and the things that they're doing wrong, but they haven't been properly guided and given the tools. We bring a lot of Hollywood boys around them, but you should bring men around to drive the buses, that work in construction. They got their own lawn service, their own carpentry service and stuff like that. So they can see men working. You see men sweating. And a lot of times what you should do, you should even take them to the junior FOI classes. So they can see how men learn to reason and learn how to think, solve problems, instead of catching the attitude, getting all emotional. And you have to sit down and study your children when they think you ain't watching them. You see their different talents, their different attitudes, their creativity, how smart they are. You look for all these things in your children. You understand? Some things you can enhance, break further out of them, put that confidence in them, that self-esteem. And sometimes, they'll tell you, something they don't like, still they're scolding them, trying to bring them down, let them have that. You understand what I'm saying? Because I like to see that. That's the courage and that self-confidence that you have instead of trying to knock it out of them. I'm the mother, I'm the father, this, that, and another. Let the children, let them have that. You understand? Because they don't know. They don't know that you don't want them to be talking that way to you, but children are sassy. Hell, that's good. You want them to have that type of attitude. Then you have to have where you teach your children to be on discipline, how to sit still. You understand? You take them out, how to sit still and behave, teach them manners. All of these things are important as they go down the line of time. Because the world we live in is not fair at all. That's why you see we're the minority in this country, but we're the majority of the population sitting in the jailhouses of America. We have the most tombstones in the graveyard. And there's a reason for that because we have miscalculated. We're not giving our children the right knowledge. You take them to the church houses of America. Most preachers, some of the teaching that they get, they reject it. And you see someone speaking before them, half of it come through them to reach God and sit them down and walking with them and telling your child, you God. You understand? Tell them that the Asiatic black man is maker, on the cream of the planet Earth, the God of the universe. You hold their hand and talk to them, then you make them repeat it. You understand? And you break down what God means. You understand? And you put those examples in front of them. You taking care of business, the business can take care of you and them. You put them on the right diet. A lot of your children eat the wrong poison food. It's not good for them. You got them going to Mickey D's and Chuck E. Cheese and eating all this garbage. So when you send them into these public school systems, they can't sit still because You got all this sugar and the wrong foods running through their body. You never taught them how to sit down and what they're gonna have to deal with. Cause how can someone teach a child that don't even love them? You start getting reports back on your little son. They just left out the house, went to the public school system, get these bad reports already. Cause they ain't sitting down looking at them standing in front of the board with a piece of chalk. I mean, they just in preschool or kindergarten and all these type of expectations. And we don't have our own schools where they can be taught a curriculum that's conducive to their nature. You can talk about our own history. Y'all in the uproar because they trying to write out the American history on the black man. Well, you shouldn't be in that big of an uproar because they should be getting this knowledge before they even get into the public school system. But a lot of cases, we too late to sit down and teach our children because we got finger popping on our minds. And these people are waiting on our children. They're afraid of us because they understand the power that we possess and they know who we are. You won't accept who you are when you told that because you've been miseducated. And you won't tell your children that they're gods because you got them thinking they're a mystery God that's going to come out the sky. And don't worry about it because, if you die, son, you behave today, you're going to be in heaven tomorrow. Well, ain't nobody proved that to nobody yet that I know of. You get into this gold wire. So all these things, we face with today in our communities is messed up. Our children is dying wholesale. We protesting. I see fathers come, and mother come, and they separated. They keep the child. A lot of fathers want their child, spend more time with them, but there's so many stipulations that the mother put down. And she catches son doing something wrong. I seen, well, one father, she called the father to the house because the son had a gun. And he was 17, 16, and he was talking to his son outside the house. Mom standing there. And his father said, man, what you doing with this gun? And so he went to talk slick to the father. So the father grabbed him in the chest. Now here she come. Let my son go. What you doing? This, that, and another. So now she done turned against the father trying to chastise the son. So don't you ever do that. Told him to go on in the house. Understand? This is why we losing in a lot of cases, especially when the father wanted to be involved. Because we deal with our children differently than the mother. We want to cater and color them, the women and all this old type of stuff, especially with that male, man. You can't do that. Because he know if he can divide you against the father, he winning all the time. Because you should have been worried to death. Your son got the gun, running around in the streets of America, suddenly get stopped because he's a young guy walking the streets of America. 9 times out of 10, he's gonna get frisked, profiled, or he take off running, he's gonna get gunned down, or they throw away gun. Now you all around here crying and stuff, but you just went off on the father in front of the child, his child. It ain't your child, it's your child, both of y'all together. But you want to claim and told him, my child. The hell wrong with you? This is the reason that we lose them. We have good father, we got good mother that's trying very hard. And if a son really, really loves his mother, then he try not to do anything to really hurt her, to be honest about it. But if he know he can get away with doing dirt, and his mother gonna color him, sons, they sit in the house all day playing games. Playing games. Sleep all day. You won't even tell them to get up and get busy. And that carries on into manhood. They're highly emotional. You know, when I used to train and teach my children, you know, well, I let them, when you take them to the park, I let them just run as far as you want. Oh, I can get to you in time in case something come up. You know, they be looking back, shit, they running all those damn places. You know, sometimes you be walking or something, sometimes they'll slow down and get tired, want to go a little crying and stuff. Man, come on, man. I keep walking. They say, oh, this ain't working. Let me run over down here and catch up because this ain't working. So you building them up. You're building that confidence and self-esteem up. Teach them how to work out. You understand? You teach them how to use their hands. Teach them how to think at least 5 times before they even open their mouth. Teach them how to share. You teach them how to even cook. They're standing around there watching. You know, as a man, you teach your boys how to even go to the bathroom. You understand? They see you watching standing up there, you know, all right, this is how I do that. Pretty soon they want that damn pamper off. You understand? They be pulling that thing off, man. That's how them women keep that pamper on with you till you're 100 years old. You understand what I'm saying? And we never let our children really have pacifiers and all that old type of stuff. You don't need that damn thing in your mouth. I take it out. You understand? You need that to pacify you. You good. Understand? So I just wanted to give you a little bit of that tonight because what I really want to do is bring my nephew in, and I want him to come in and speak to you about his experience in life because he grew up as a young man. You know, he lost his mother at an early age, which is my big older sister. His father never really wanted to claim him, you understand, but he had a family that embraced him. We loved him, so he had to worry about that at all. You know, even his sister Markeisha, but as he went through life, you know, he used to run on his tippy toes like a deer. And so he had a gift, you know, he had a gift on animals. I remember one time in Springfield, Illinois, they had this one dog, everybody was scared of him. They scared he walked by the fence. They sounded like a lion ready to tie through the fence. So one day I see Marlo come down the street. He looked at the dog and stopped the dog, stopped barking. And I looked around, he got the damn dog walking down the street that everybody was scared of. He just had these natural gifts. You know, very respectful young man, very gifted. And when you put them out in this world, then they got to face this world, they got to face their peers. You understand? So he got into that world and ran into some trouble. But I want him to tell us. So I want you young men to listen though. Listen to his story. You know, he did really a life sentence. Did anything on 20 is a life sentence. Understand? But he come through that. He's out. Shit, he doing pretty damn good. More than some people have been out here over 20 years on the street. You know, came out hitting the ground running. And he wanted to tell his experience about the young men that he had to deal with in prison, and how he came into Islam, how he tried to help the young man in prison, not them just in there wilding out and stuff like that. You understand? Let him tell his experience, and y'all listen to this story. So thank you. I'm going to bring him in. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum, guy.
Walaikum assalam, huh? You hear me?
Can you hear?
How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing good. All praises due to Allah.
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a delay. So just understand that there's a delay.
All right.
But I just want you to. So tell your story. You know, wherever you want to begin. Yeah, I want the youngest to hear your story.
Yeah, it's all too common story that all of us is descendants of our ancestors that was brought over here in them chains. You know, some worse, some a little bit more worse. But I go back, man. I remember growing up and looking up to my uncles, man, looking up to Maurice, you, Clifford, even Tyrone, my aunts, all my family, in Southern California, running and playing through the orange groves, man, and it's just me and all my cousins my age, Reggie, Zach, Lil Mo, and we looked up
That's
to
a
all
plenty.
y'all as kings, man. We admired y'all, we looked at y'all as supermen, and we wanted to be like y'all, and we learned everything on how to be a man from y'all, with all y'all goodness and all your greatness, and also with all y'all flaws, because y'all come from the same situation that we inherited, slavery, conquered. And this is one thing I really want to stress on this platform to all our people, that we were a conquered people. We wasn't just enslaved, but we were conquered and erased. Everything about us they tried to erase. They did not show us no mercy. They did not show us no love. They have done nothing for us. Nothing. And with that being said, I want to start by saying, if they won't teach you right, if they won't treat you right, what make you think they gonna treat you right? They have given us false religion. They have taken our names. They taken our identity, our culture. And it just didn't begin 400-500 years ago. They've been on this onslaught for the last 6,000 years. What they did to our ancestors way back then. But that's another story, another time. So I'm just going to speak about, I grew up, around my uncles. I had a family, I didn't have my father there, and I thank Allah for blessing me not with just one father, but I had my uncles. I had my uncle Bashir. I had my uncle Maurice, my uncle Clifford, my uncle Tyrone. I had my grandmama, my mama, and my aunts. So I had parents and I had a family that loved me, but at the same time, keep in mind that they come from the same situation my grandmother, she's only one generation from her grandmother that was in slavery, Al Rody Shaw. We love her forever. So slavery is not that far away from our family. We
That's right.
know our family member that was enslaved, and so we had to deal with all that, and we was taught that, and we was taught how to navigate. And the one thing I love about my grandmother, Dorothy Pittman, she did not teach us that false religion. She never encouraged us to believe in no white Jesus, and I thank her that for so much, And but my uncle Bashir, man, I'm gonna grow up to the time my mother, she lost her life, may Allah bless her soul, and that was something that was devastating to me. I was 10 years old, and it just was numb, man. A 10-year-old kid having to deal with such a painful loss like that. You don't know what to do with that pain. So that pain sat there, man, and it make you is powerful. And so that power comes with you wanting to exert that power. You want to share that power, and it ain't in a good way. So everything, all the flaws you done seen in your family, all the things you've been exposed to in that environment, because that environment is also your parent. That environment is just as powerful as your parents. And that environment influenced me. And I dove in at a young age. I sat there and I started hearing the gang chants with kids my age at school. Didn't know what it was at first, but man, it felt like something I wanted to be a part of. And So that was the beginning of me going down that rabbit hole, and I dove in that gang stuff, you know, head first, you know, and I gave everything to that stuff. And what I come to see, you know, that it was camaraderie. It was black men all sharing the same pain, all the same backgrounds, some of the same experiences, some more tragic, some, you know, not so bad. You know, I grew up with friends watching them getting taken away from the county, coming and taking them because their mama ain't got no food or furniture in the house, you know. Seeing all that, you know, I watched my uncles get taken away from me when I was a kid, off to prison. So all this stuff, all this loss, all this tragic in my environment, what we call the hood now, you know, it was in our community, which is the black community. And I watched this stuff happen. So that pain, no longer that pain killed little Marlo. It took on an identity of itself. It took on that identity of all that hatred that was put in our community, all that hatred that was done to our ancestors. So it took on that identity, but I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I just thought I was belonging and doing something, and it was feeling good at the time, and I thought I was being a man. And so I went on and started selling weed. I started getting into the drug business, you know, trying to do that. Not really that successful at it. I was really hustling for candy and stuff. Just happy with some candy and some new tennis shoes. So I think I was about 13 years old when I started selling joints. So as time went on, you know, I ended up in Richmond, California, started learning the game a little bit more, you know, and hustling and really learning how grimy and dirty the streets can be, that it wasn't no love in them streets. You know, it wasn't no camaraderie no more. It was dog eat dog. So I learned that, and the stuff was shaking me because I didn't come from a rotten background with my family. So a lot of the stuff with the betrayal, with the just preying on each other, it wasn't in me to be like that. So it was a learned behavior in the streets that I adapted and took on, and it was that you know, by any means necessary, I'm gonna be successful in these streets, and I'm gonna let y'all know that I count out here. And so, long story short, I sat here, man, and had a wife, had some children at a young age, man. And so I wanted to get in them streets. She was a college girl, good girl, but I was messed up. I had all that pain. I had all that hatred that was filled up in that I'd inherited from generation after generation. And so I didn't, you know, I wanted to get out in them streets and get that money. I wasn't trying to work no job. And I'll end up, man, long story short, around about 21 years old, I come to Minnesota, hear about it from being locked up in California, how sweet it is in Minnesota. And I start making my money. I got out here on these streets and just, you know, had my way. They let me have my way up here, and without no contesting, you know, and that would never happen back in California, you know. So it was cool. I met a lot of guys and things, but it was a different game up here that I wasn't ready for. And it was just even more treacherous. You know, it wasn't no rules. So I sat here and, you know, my wife and my son come up here to Minnesota, staying at my grandmother's house. And she want me to go back to California, Sacramento with her. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna really give it a chance to change my life, because, you know, my Uncle Bashir, the one that's hosting this show right now, he had been planting seeds in me for as long as I can remember. He just walk up to me, ask me why the earth shakes, you know, ask me what is time, you know, and I'd be like, man, I don't know what he talking about, what is time, because nothing had no meaning to me. So I never thought about none of that. So he planted these seeds in me that would later come to fruition, and I would grasp and see the gravity of it, and see that this man was teaching me about the mechanics of the earth. He was taking me from quantum physics, from the micro to the macro. But I couldn't appreciate this because, you know, I was in that slave mentality. You know, I was doing master's work. So this is what I was on, man. And I sat here and I decided, old Satan, he knew that I had it in my heart that I was going to go back and change my life, man. And it was a knock on the door. And it was a long story short about the case, how I ended up getting a life sentence. I was facing more than life. They had me facing, man, so much time. I threw the paperwork down on the ground. I was ready to fight like y'all talking crazy to me, man. I sat there and looked at all that time like, man, So I sat here, man, get a knock at the door. My partner come, man, and I done got rid of all this contraband I got, and I'm through with the game. I'm through. I done gave it all up, and that question was who you got up at the house serving, and I was like, nobody. I ain't got nothing, and so we roll up here. So to make a long story short, man, to summarize this, we all armed with some of the most powerful weapons, handguns at the time. And we rolled up there to our house, and some guys had took over our dope house. And we got up in there on them. So I'm not going to hurt nobody about getting no money on no spot. But everybody else that was up in the house was armed also, and I looked at these guys and I seen that demon in their eyes as well, So I knew that this was a serious situation, but at the same time, I wasn't out to hurt nobody about getting no few dollars on no spot. So I tried to let them leave, but that guy was bent on. He was bent on, he was there to kill me in my own house. He wasn't there just to get no money. Some guys from another state, had been told some lies and was like, go beat all the rest with the baseball bats and, kill Marlo, make an example. So I done walked into a death trap not knowing these guys, but I done got the ups on them. So my partner, he sat there, he knows something I don't know. So he cocked his gun when I went to go let him go. And when he cocked his gun, he jammed it. And when he jammed it, the guy sitting down, he went for his pistol, 44 Bulldog. And when he went for his pistol, I just let loose on him and his guy. And I left up out the house, and was like, man, I regretted it happening because it wasn't supposed to happen, but I didn't have knowledge of everything that was supposed to happen and that I was a target. So I go back to California, I'm living my life and having everything as a young man out there, and next thing I know, the feds jump out on me. Long story short, they bring me to Minnesota. You got 2 187 once in Hennepin County. They bring me to Minnesota in 1994. I was 23 years old when I got arrested, and they try to offer me deals. They try to get me to tell on people. The feds try to come. I fired my lawyer because he came and brought me the message about telling, and I was, that was just absolutely not. I couldn't look myself in the face, and I just was taught by my grandmother, Dorothy Pittman, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. So I knew I had to stand on everything that I had done in my life. Wasn't no folding up because I couldn't look at my family. I couldn't look at my Uncle Bashir or Maurice, nobody, if I folded up and did something like that. That was the act of a coward. So I sat there and went to trial. The police, they made it up. They had no evidence. They told the dead guy's girlfriend to show her my picture, let her off her warrants and stuff. They took people's kids. They did everything and fabricated the whole case. Not one piece of evidence was entered of my guilt. I went to prison on suggestion, neighborhood gossip, he say, she say, and they put that in the legal documents. That's what they had. They put me away, no weapon, no statement from me, nothing. So I sat here and You know, I go to prison. They sat there, and I'm 24 years old. Just got a life sentence with 180 months ran concurrent, and so I'm supposed to go to St. Cloud with all the youngsters. You know, you couldn't go to Stillwater prison if you wasn't 27 or older. So St. Cloud refused me. They say he got too much influence. He got too much power over these guys. Send him to Stillwater. They send me to Stillwater. I'm the youngest guy. I'm the second youngest guy they done brought there since it was open. The first guy was my brother Willie Lloyd Jr. And they sat here, man, and they put me in this place. And I'm calling my Uncle Bashir, you know, and he giving me guidance and he letting me know, hey, man, stand there as a man, man. Don't go for no disrespect. Stand as a man. And I sat there and I did it, and I didn't go for no disrespect. And I always had believed in Allah, but I wasn't living as no Muslim. I was very far from a Muslim, you know. So, but I always called my uncle for guidance. I always sought that counsel from him on which routes to take. So I didn't go for no disrespect. And that right there, I sat there, I get to prison, all these guys I done heard about in there and all this and that, all these big homies and crap I come to see, you know, they ain't nothing but homosexuals, man. I'm looking, they, you know, they only known for what they done on the street. Standing on their manhood, they wasn't doing that. So I took and told everybody that was affiliated with my organization, I said, any homosexuality, you getting tossed up out of here. You getting drugged up out of here, man. Let me catch it. So they like, yeah, all right. So I had one older cat come to my cell. He said, hey, man, you know, you kind of being hard on these guys, and it may come a time you may need them and they ain't there. And I asked him, I say, man, what, you threatening me, man? He's like, no, brother, I ain't never doing that. But, you know, you just need to think about how hard you coming down on these brothers. So the next day I go to lunch, man. I go to call my wife on the phone, and the police say, hey, Marlo Jones, pack up, man. Oak Park Heights here. So I say, Oak Park Heights, you know, this is Supermax. I ain't did nothing to go to Supermax. I only been out here a month. Man, them people put me on the bus to Oak Park Heights, and I went over there, and it was an administrative move. I find out my guys, you know, wasn't my guys. They sat there and they got me put in Supermax, you know, went and tell on me. So I learned, I'm like, yeah, these guys weak. They really not about this. So I'm still representing. I get over to Oak Park Heights. I'm still doing the same thing, trying to organize this little boy movement that we call, you know, this organization, you know. And man, I end up getting into it with one of my guys, one of my close friends, you know, and I end up getting a year in the hole, over a year. I went to the hole May 29th, 1996. I didn't get back out till July 14th, 1997. And when I was back there in the hole, that was the best thing that happened to me when I was back there. And I sat back there and I watched out that window. I watched that yard, and I seen everything. I seen the gospel, I seen the treachery, and I seen all the weakness. And I was like, how can I be a part of anything weak? My family would not respect me if they seen me running around with these type of individuals. So I made my mind up that when I walked out on that yard, that it was I was stepping away, that I was getting ready to be a Muslim in the Nation of Islam. And I was ready to die on that, because I went out there, I had 2 knives on me. I stepped out there on that yard, and you know, the guy who had the joint, you know, for our organization, he come up to me, and I tell him, hey, man, y'all can move on me. I know y'all got the numbers, but I'm a Muslim. I'm through with this, man. But the killing gonna start with you, man. I got you. And he looking at me, and he know I'm dead serious, because I'm staring at him in his eyes, and I'm just waiting on a flinch, because that was it. I was ready to go for Allah. I was ready to give my life, because it was so great. Once I studied these lessons that my uncle sent me when I was in there, man, and I learned, and everything that he had been planting in me had came to life. And I seen that it wasn't no death for me. I knew what to stand on, not just as a man, but as a God. I had became back there in that segregation for over a year that they put me back there. And it wasn't segregation, it was the control unit, the modified control unit, you know. So I was ready to stand on down what I believed in. And them brothers seen that, man, and I knew that I had a lot of brothers that had love for me, and I knew they was gonna follow with me. But man, long story short, I sat here and I step away, you know, and so I have a lot of my guys from my organization follow me. I have guys from different organizations follow what I was did, not follow me, because all praise is due to Allah, but they took the path that I took by me making the steps that I made, and they was ready to stand on it, man. And we became a force in there. We became the force in there for young brothers that were so strong that that administration didn't care about these other organizations. And I'm talking about you had every organization that exists in this max security prison, but they did not feel as threatened. They come to me and pull me out of class with all our names on it, let me know we know who you are, we know who all of you are, and we watching. And so they put me as not as a security threat because of violence, but I became a security threat because of my ideas that had developed in my mind, because it was reflecting in my actions. It was reflecting in brothers stepping away and growing up wanting to be a part of that, you know. And I sat here, man, and I went on, I educated myself. I just got a college degree. I started doing everything like, man, I'm going to make my family proud. I'm not going to be this nigga that these people train me to be. I'm not going to hurt my people no more, man. And I sat there, man, and I went on and end up transitioning down to back to Stillwater from Max, then back to Rush City. And so we had so much of following, the police would step back, man, and just let us flow through the prison, man. They wouldn't stop us. They couldn't stop us. And some of the sergeants, they was like, man, y'all more organized than my officers, you know, and they had to respect it because they couldn't do nothing, because young brothers was changing their lives, getting education, cleaning themselves up, not sagging pantses, not hating each other, man. And they was sitting there taking pride in family and getting themselves ready, because my Uncle Bashir, he taught me, he said, man, prepare yourself for the day that you walk out. That prison sentence is not your destiny. That is not your fate. Allah got something greater for you, brother. And I stood on that, and I believe. I took what my uncle said and I held on to it in my heart, and I lived it. I didn't just sit there and believe it. I knew it, you know. So I end up, man, with all the mess that I raised hell in them prisons up here, man. I gave them people hell. And brother, them people sat there, and when it came down to it, they had respected everything I did. And it was against their system. But in the way that I did it and how intellectual, and brothers walking out of prison, not recommitting crimes, not going out terrorizing their own community, because that's the game. When you in prison, they sit there and they terrorize this lion, like this lion in this cage, and they poke at it and they beat it and they do everything savage to this lion. So you got this raging lion, and where do they release it? The laws in Minnesota say you got to go back to your county of commit, where you committed your crime. So you got to go back to the hood with all this anger that these white people done filled up in you. And it's just like releasing a wild, insane, rabid lion back out in our community. So then you hear them on the news, oh, these guys getting out of prison and they teaching these guys. So over time, from California throughout of America, this prison culture took over our streets, the dress code, the music, the look. This prison culture influenced our community. So we had not just a slave mentality no more, we had a savage slave mentality, that we had no love and no mercy for no one, not even our own mamas or daughters or sons, relatives or nothing, because brothers that's done been in prison, you know, you done seen some of the most savage acts committed against our own brothers by our own brothers. Most of the time, the own organization is the one carrying out the act. It's rarely an organization on another organization. It's your own guys that are set there and they show no mercy. And I'm not gonna get into the horrific things, that I seen in there, but it's savage, man. It's like being in hell. I told one of my nephews, I said, man, being in prison in this prison is like living in a house and you got Michael Myers and Jason and Freddy Krueger everywhere around you. And that's what you living with, man. Monsters. And so I went on and I didn't judge my brothers because I know what was done to me. I know what was done to them. And they sat there and I heard the real Rick Ross, when he had got out of federal prison the second time in 2009, he did an interview in the Final Call. And he was speaking about the number 19. And the number 19 represents a woman giving birth. So I sat here and I read, he said, man, I became so devout. I became so conscious of self with the knowledge of self and who my creator was that I became too big for the womb. And that womb had to expel me back out here into this world. And I'm out here to do the work of Allah. So that right there resonated with me, and I knew that day was coming. So I was telling all my brothers that got life sentences, a lot of them is out right now. A lot of brothers that had life sentences plus, and it's a lot more coming behind me. They couldn't hold us no more. Allah wouldn't allow them to hold us no more. And we done no snitching, no folding, no kissing ass of the guard. We done everything opposite of that. We stood as Asiatic black men in there. We stood up as the guys that Allah put us here to be. So that's why. And everybody has to submit to a God. So I ended up being released from prison in 2023, June 20th, 2023, man. And it was after 30 years in prison. I was 53 years old. I had a lot to learn, about this world because previously I had never been in this world with the mind that I had developed while I was incarcerated. I had the mind of that slave. I was, out in the streets. So I never did appreciate any other things that I had seen out here. The people, how people move. So I was enlightened. I was real appreciative about being back out here and being able to experience this world, the good of it. But then as time went on, I started looking at the mindsets. I started seeing my people strung out living in these homeless encampments, which is nothing but fentanyl encampments. And I'm seeing my brothers, some of them I was in prison, strung out on this drug. And so I'm knowing it's another crafty tool that they done put in our community to destroy our brothers. And one thing about that, about this individual we speaking about, that spread all this evil on this earth and this corruption. And the evil and corruption is way deeper than what you think. It's my generation, they put crack cocaine and machine guns on us back in 1985. That's what they did to fight a war in South America and to overthrow the Iranian government. They put cocaine and guns in kids' hands. Do you think they gave a damn about us? We ain't even talking about what they did with slavery and in the 60s. That alone right there is one of the most evilest acts that you could do. So that show you what they willing to go through to keep their institutions and their white supremacy systems going. They don't care about us. And once you wrap around your mind like that, and I want to speak about this because I don't want to fill you up with hatred. I'm trying to fill you up with the love of Allah and the consciousness of Allah and the knowledge of self. So, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said, don't look at the devil and point him out and fashion yourself after him. We are to take and show the world what Islam looks like and what it feels like we ought to be righteous Muslims. And there is nothing else besides that but a righteous Muslim. There could be nothing other. So those things is what helped me balance out, because I can't allow that hatred that I was filled up for self and for my people, that these people put on me, to allow me to become an unrighteous Muslim, an unrighteous servant, unworthy, because that hatred, you dealing in emotion that's of the devil, so you got to use intelligence. And so I'm grateful to be out here. I'm grateful grateful for my family to be on here. I'm working as a barber. I got my own house. I got these worldly little things, but they're nothing, because I'm out here in this world. I'm in it, but I'm not of it, and I stay like that. And a lot of my brothers, they the same way, because we step back, man. We not in that circle. We done plugged out like on the Matrix. We not a part of that system no more. So we look in and we able to see what's the problem. And there's one thing about what they taught us to do and what they taught their people to do. They taught their people to hate us, but they taught everybody not to think nor to question. So we find ourselves not even thinking, because thinking takes intelligence. And a lot of us not taking the time to really be conscious, to see what's going on, to really dissect, to see why you believe the way you believe, why you see the world the way you see it, why you think the way you think. These are things that you question yourself, and who gave you these thoughts? Where did this come from? Why do you think that this is okay? Why do you hate this brother? Why do you feel jealousy and envy? Why do you feel that taking another brother's life, and even taking another brother's life, that's an evil thing, to be able to do that, to put that pain on a grandmother, on a mother, on a father, to be able to do that, man, to take that man out of existence. But it's more evil is for us as black men to walk away from our children, to leave our children in this world that we know, that we have experienced. If we don't know nothing else, we know that this system ain't set up for us to win, and for us to be able to step away from our children so easily, to even put ourselves in a situation to be taken away from our sons and daughters. And we wonder why these little sisters is up on these poles, and why they on all these platforms singing about and rapping about the things they rapping about, and why they so loose with themselves, no self-respect, and they think they could cover themselves up with these slave masters brands, and with these names and things, so these are things that we have to question. But it all starts with self, because my Muslim name is Hanif Jihad, and brothers gave me that name Jihad because they seen that I had two flaws: that I was angry, I was too quick to go, and that I love women. I was a womanizer. So I needed that name. Not jihad doesn't mean to go fight everybody else. Jihad means to exert your best, to be able to conquer your lower self and put that lower self down and become who you truly are. So that's why, and I had to conquer self. I couldn't sit there and go out and start saying, hey man, I'm going to get rid of these devils, and I'm going to knock these devils, and here it is, I'm the biggest devil right along with them. I done fashioned myself just like the devil. So the first devil, me, for changing and growing, I had to kill that devil that was in my head, man. I had to get rid of him. And when I did that and I submitted to the will of Allah,
Wow.
I sat there, man, everything comes natural, man. I don't have to, I sat there, I was, even as a Muslim, my brother, Willie Lloyd X, man, he sat there, and before he left, when he got parole to leave Stillwater, man, he came, he shook my hand and said, brother, you got to start letting Allah fight your fights, man. You got to let him be God. You just sat there, and I sat there and I listened to him, and I started seeing that things that would go on, that I just sat there, hey man, I'm gonna let this play out. And man, when it would play itself out, I couldn't have never imagined on this with the results that would happen. And Allah, he made everything smooth. He made my transition back out into this world smooth. He done made it smooth for me up to this point. You know, and I follow his way and I stay paying attention. And I'm not talking about paying attention to this worldly world and men. I'm talking about paying attention to Allah and how he's moving in my life and how he's moving in this world. How Allah is the key to the black man and black woman's salvation. You know, you have to take in, when you submit, man. My Uncle Bashir told me, man, I was sitting there getting into it with them prison guards, and he sat there and he said, hey, man, next time they say something to you, listen, say, yes, sir. Submit. There's power in submission. And when I did that, they was like, they couldn't get it. They like, what? They was expecting me to cut up and act a fool with them. But I said, I did what my Uncle Bashir said. I said, hey, yes, sir. And I stopped. I was running. I used to run through the prison. Just, you know, I was wild. So, man, I ran through that place. I take off running and through the hallways everywhere I want. And, you know, I did what I want. I got life. You ain't going to tell me nothing. So everything started changing. Everything started changing, man. And so I see things very clearly now. I see things vivid. You know, I see with the eyes of Allah, I hear with the ears of Allah. I walk in the footsteps of Allah. I think with his mind, you know, and Jesus, he sat there and he told Peter, he said, Satan, get thee behind me, Peter, but you are thinking in the ways of man versus the ways of God. So I look at the things of this world. I understand why Isa, alayhi salam, said, be in this world, but don't be of it. Because if you of it, you being consumed. And that's another trick that we as a people, we think that money is our salvation. We think hundreds of millions of dollars is salvation. And it's not, man. Salvation is with your Lord and Creator, man, the one who created this universe. You come from the greatest people of the history of this earth. You come from ancient Kemet. Ancient Kemet, Acublania, Kush, you know, Oxia. This is the original name of our homeland that our people come from, that built them pyramids all over what's now known as Africa, which is not the righteous name. That's some Roman emperor's name. That's Scipio Africanus, man. Conquered our people and named it after his family, you know, some old pedophile, you know, killer. So, you know, and that's the thing, you have to know, you got to know self and know what this earth is about, man, because you're living in the matrix. They got your head, man, and you're not each other's enemy. You're not each other's enemy, man. And you just got to sit back and find your purpose on this earth. Why Allah done put you here. He ain't put you here to be no nigga. That's not your purpose, man. That's the thinking of man. That's what these demons want for you, man, to do their work, to keep their system going, you know. So, and I just now I step back and I observe and I see how they got things going. I ride through the hood, the so-called hood, and I see my brothers, I see my people out there sicking pit bulls on each other. You know, the man try to run off with a little pack or something, and how they dealt with him, you know, about that poison that, you know, his life really meant nothing. And I sat there and I look at, I'm like, our brothers is they done went so far, you know, they done went all the way that prison culture done spilt out here, man. And it's no love. We're not showing no love for each other, man. And it's what's crazy is that it's hip to be a fool now. It's hip, you know, brothers not even that's in the game, they not even hustling for no money no more, man. They just doing it to be seen in the eyes of men, just to be able to have a false facade. And so I sat there and I just look at, man, what I'm gonna do to help my people. So I work with a lot of brothers, and these brothers is good because these brothers know how to get next to these people. Because Elijah Muhammad, he said, if you submit to Allah, you submit to this way of life, Allah would teach you to put that devil on your pinky finger. So I see these brothers, and they get these, they get next to all the politicians you could think of. I ain't gonna say no names, but they know how to get next to these people, and they know how to make these people do the work for us. And this is what these brothers are doing, man. They sitting there bringing our brothers home, making them shut these prisons down up here in Minnesota. And I'm talking about our brothers is on all fronts up here in Minnesota. You know, to bring our brothers home, and they get ready to shut this prison down, Stillwater. They shutting it down. They moving brothers up out of there. And it's just like slavery, man. These people don't like it. They don't want to let our people go. They think we belong to them. They think they own us, you know. And we got to stop feeding into this Republican and Democrat crap too, you know. We ain't none of that stuff. But we got to learn how to use that tool. You know, we have to learn to be Asiatic black men and women and develop ourselves as a people, man, as a sovereign people. Just like I see these Native Americans got their sovereign land, their sovereign rights. You know, we need to stop having leaders, black people going out there to Washington just to get a job to show that they could perform like a white man or white woman. They could do the same job as them. We don't need that. We need people that's going to sit here and get a seat on this UN, at the UN, to represent us as a people, as a free sovereign people, because I have read nowhere that Adam wrote us out in his will to be inheritors of this earth. We are the original people. We come from the originals that built this earth. So this is ours, man, not just what we come from, where our ancestors were taken. I'm talking about all of this earth, from the depths of the ocean to America, Canada, South America, the Antarctic, the North Pole. All this belongs to us. All this universe belongs to us. And we got to start thinking in that way. We just can't run around and say a bunch of fancy things, bunch of slick things out our mouth, speak all this knowledge, all these righteous teachings, and don't have no action behind it, no life behind it, you know? You got to sit there and live this. This is a way of life, and this is what I do. Because I don't want to use you statements. I'm going to speak about myself, and this is what I do. You know, I'm not a perfect Muslim, you know. I find that out when I go to a stand before my creator, Allah, you know, but I just want our young brothers to really stop feeding into a system that these people have designed for us. These people have social engineers and social scientists that study us and watch us and observe and manipulate our behavior. You don't think that they own these clubs, these record labels? You don't think they own all this stuff? You don't think that they at the concert with you? You don't think they watching your family at these get-togethers and all this? If you making any noise, they own you. They own you because they done gave you the tools to become who you have become. They the ones that's done guided you and allowed you to become that instrument of destruction in your community. But they watch you. And as soon as you step away, you see what they do to our brother in Chicago. They'll give you 1,000 years, man. They'll give you 1,000 years with no hesitation. So we as brothers have to step up. You study ancient Kemet, so-called Egyptology and all that. Don't just study it just to recite it. Don't be no parrot. Become them. See how they did things. See how they lived, how they talked, how they walk, how they raised their sons, like my uncles were speaking in the beginning. We have to teach our men how to be men. We have to develop them. And that was alchemy in ancient Kemet. That was what you would call a religion, was alchemy. And alchemy is meaning to take base metals, worthless metals, and develop them into gold. And what they were doing, they was taking our people from a base state of mind and develop them into a God mind, into gods. And that's why people worship them to this day. Hate them. You know, hate our ancestors. Say they not our ancestors, lie. But saying that the ancient Egyptians wasn't Asiatic people, wasn't black people, is like saying that ancient Greece, them wasn't white people. We know that the ancient Greece was white people. Just like we know that the ancient Egyptians was black people, Asiatic people. So you got to be careful of what these people feed you, you know. And that's my story. I'm not gonna try to hold you brothers too long, and I'm gonna turn this back over. I hope that I don't reach at least one brother, man. One brother sincerely, one sister, you know. And I really speak to the sisters because the sisters are more powerful. You know, y'all goddesses, man. That's why y'all ruled in ancient Kemet. You know, that's why we had Nefertiti and Cleopatra. You know, Isis. You know, so that's y'all lineage. You know, y'all the second beholden to Allah. Y'all life all comes through y'all, and brothers got to start honoring
Peace,
and
brother.
holding our sisters sacred, man, because that's where we come from. Those are our women, and they the ones they conquered them women, and women was powerful. That's why those weak devils, they sat there and they look at our women and they sexualize them, they demean them, they had to conquer them, you know, because they was too powerful. Queen Sheba, building some of the biggest palaces, was the first queen to build a glass bridge, you know, so our sisters got to learn, you know, you don't need all those name brand, all them slave masters garbage on you, because all that stuff is garbage, and it's going, when you're done wearing it, it's going to be in the garbage can, you know. So uh, uh, your skin color, just stick your hand up in the sun, it's going to shine like gold. So you got all the gold and wealth right there. Allah done blessed you with all your glory right inside you. Everything you need to be successful, Allah already done put into you, just like he done did our brothers. So I hope I done said something that could resonate back with our people, man, because we need our people to wake up. This is not our natural state. You know, I heard a brother take and say when they created them brothers in LA, when they divided them brothers after they got rid of all the Panthers, they came and they got the youth and they took and they made sure that they put that young black man like they do, like you would do a planet, put it out of orbit. Now, what a planet that's ain't not in orbit, what is it going to do? It's going to spin out of control, no direction, no purpose.
Disintegrate.
That's where we at. So I'm gonna turn this back. I'm gonna give y'all the greeting of Assalamu alaikum. It's my honor and my pleasure to be here to speak on this platform to you brothers, and you know, pay attention to my family. You know, my Uncle Bashir, I thank Allah for him. That was my father right there. And I can't thank Allah enough for him, you know. So he was the instrument that dug me up out of the grave and breathed life into me, you know. So he's speaking, and he has a story, a backstory also, you know, and that's up to him whether he want to share it or speak it. But you know, he's a soldier. That's a soldier. He come from the streets. You know, he come from the same place. So he not just speaking a bunch of hot knowledge, a bunch of good knowledge and all that. This brother dedicated his life to Islam. I remember when he first came to me at my grandmother's house and showed me his Muslim card. I was like, man, get that out. I didn't say it because I had too much love and respect, and I honored him. But I looked at it, but in my head, I was like, man, get that out my face, you know? But I accepted it, and he knew that I wasn't going to be reached right then and there. That's why he planted them seeds every time, man. That man would come up on me from nowhere and be like, man, what is this? And I sat there, man, and they planted them seeds, and them seeds came to life, man. And that Islam, what he taught me to be a man and how to walk through a life sentence. Them people said, we sentence you, Marlo Jones, to the rest of your life to the Minnesota Department of Corrections. And I'm out here in this world and ain't got on my knees one time to nobody. I stood strong as a God. From beginning to end, there is no bad paperwork on me. I have never cowered. I have never committed a homosexual act. I have never bowed down. I walked as a man, you know. So all praise due to Allah, and assalamu alaikum.
Where's Salam? Brother, that was very, very powerful. appreciate you coming on, telling your story, brother. There ain't nothing else for me to say tonight, brother.
Yeah, you know, uh, you just keep
Because
teaching these
what
brothers,
you
man. And
just said, everyone can learn from. And that's the way we need to move. Because this is where the movement need to come from now. A lot of it need to come from the insides of the prison to the streets. And I'm talking to a brother now that's locked up. And this is the same conversation that we have and how we can bring them brothers. We can bring them home when we can catch them. Because we on the move to take over. I'm not just talking. This is takeover time from the bottom to the top. Same bloodline, young soldier, and I love you. So I'm gonna get off. Oh, Cleveland I got tired on me. She sitting over here moving back and forth.
yeah,
You understand? But brother, I'm so proud of you.
all
I'm
praises
proud
to
of you. I'm proud of you, man. God, this the bloodline. We carrying this all the way into the new world, brother. You know, I'm proud of the whole family. Cause I see how the family moving in Minnesota, how the family moving here, brother. We taking over this planet.
is ours.
So I want to let everybody know we got the discount on the gold water tonight, 44% off from the best product on the planet.
No code needed.
See, we ain't selling no whiskey, no cigarettes, no drugs. We selling something that's good for you. That's gonna give you life. That's gonna spark that animal life. Have your thoughts running on the straight path, or you can think in clarity. Good for the body. I go out and stand in the sun, get that good sweat in, man. Come on back in. Well, I'm so proud of you, though, for coming through that hell, coming out, being a man standing on the square. So it's takeover time. I'm not gonna hold you, brother. I know you've been working today. Take care of business or business. Take care of you. Get you some rest, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And all praise is due to Allah. It's takeover time.
I'm doing a lot. I
So
thank you.
I'm
I
gonna close
appreciate
out
it.
tonight like I always do. So I
My
say, so I say, I say, Muhammad's got the devil on the run. That's right. Run, devil, run. Up, 2, 3, 4. Take over time.